Peace. What's good? How y'all doing? Welcome to another edition of Walk With Me. I am your host, Zaza Ali. Obviously, this is in the membership channel, so duh. But today is, what's today? Saturday, December 21st, 2024. I pray that this message reaches you all in the best of health, spirit, and mind. I am reporting to you today live once again in Beverly Hills, in a different area of Beverly Hills, however. So I titled this walk with me Rodeo Drive because we are going to end up at Rodeo Drive, but most of the walk will be in that direction, kind of spotlighting different areas, other parts of Beverly Hills that we haven't explored yet. I think this is my second, this is my third video in Beverly Hills. So this is a completely different side and area, and we are going to end up walking towards or walking past, maybe on, depending on the traffic. I drove past and it wasn't that a lot of traffic yet. It is the early afternoon, so I do expect, with the holidays being here and that being one of the meccas of shopping in LA, that it is going to pick up. But in the meantime, we will be walking mostly down Santa Monica Boulevard as I try to pan the camera to show you guys some of the architecture in this area. I hope I'm doing okay with my camera skills. You know, I feel like I've gotten better over time. I've had a couple of people compliment me on the steadiness of my hand, and I am actually walking just holding the camera. And then I have my right hand, and I'll switch hands, you know, once this hand gets fatigued. But and then the right hand is holding out my microphone. I have wired earphones, and so I want to make sure that the mic isn't rubbing up against my collar as I'm walking. So it is a two-hand job and then two-foot job. And then, you know, I have to think while I'm talking. So there's the duality of that, and be cognizant of what I'm saying as I'm talking. So there's that. I actually wrote a list before we get to Wilshire. I think this is right here. Let me just pan and give you guys a view of the street. I love how a lot of these streets have, you know, really big trees. Just brings a really beautiful vibe. And then especially in the summertime. And I want you guys to see too that there are like regular houses, upper middle class type houses. You're not going to pay upper middle class money in this area. You're going to pay mansion money in this area. But there are, like, you know, regular houses in Beverly Hills too. It's not all like, you know, 30-room mansions, etc., which I think some people, you know, tend to think. But I did want to show you guys before we get up here to this main street. It's always interesting for me walking up these main streets, so you guys be I did my reconnaissance mission coming up here to, you know, get my walking trail intact in terms of which way I was going to walk and how long I think it's going to take, and traffic and all of that stuff. But these are busy streets. But we're going to walk along the side of the streets, which they have a really beautiful landscaping, garden-esque type setting. But I wanted to show you guys. I actually have some notes for our conversation today. And I told myself, okay, just write 3 or 4 bullet points to like keep myself on track to not go all over the place. And then, true to Zaza Ali fashion, I end up writing a full page of notes. If you guys could only see this, the type of stuff that goes through my mind on a day-to-day basis is, yeah. Even me doing, you know, just talking for a short amount of time, it's like, but there's so much to say, there's so much to explore. Like, it's just kind of my spiritual mad scientist mode. Okay, so let me position my hands here, make sure I'm good, because this is Wilshire, and then Wilshire is going to turn into Santa Monica Boulevard. And I specifically started in this area because this hotel is the Beverly Hilton Hotel. And if you know anything about the Beverly Hilton Hotel, it's in Beverly Hills, obviously, but this is where Whitney Houston transitioned. This is where her, you know, remember all of the imagery with all of the stars and the celebrities showing up for the party, the big event, which I would imagine is in this extended building here, because this whole block is the Beverly Hilton. And so I would imagine that this extended building here is where all of the, events and shows and things happen. And then this part is the actual hotel. And yeah, while they were bringing her body down, and doing that whole process, they were still downstairs having the party, which I always just found really, really, really wicked and satanic, and especially for the people who loved her, or who claimed to love her. I don't even know how that would be psychologically and emotionally possible. So you have the Beverly Hilton there, and then you have the Waldorf Astoria right next door to it. And there is a beautiful walking trail. How you doing? There's a beautiful walking trail that we are going to stay on for the majority of this walk and this conversation. And again, let me just pan in on the Waldorf Astoria, because you can tell from the outside it's a really beautiful. The landscaping on the ground and around the property is really beautiful. And it's right on the corner of Wilshire and Santa Monica. And again, we're in Beverly Hills. I think it should take me about 30 minutes, 20 minutes actually. We're not that far to get to Rodeo Drive, but there's just such beautiful scenery along the way that I want to show you guys and share with you guys as we, have a heart-to-heart conversation. It's funny because I told you guys the other day I really wanted to do this when it wasn't the weekend, because I knew it wasn't going to be as much traffic. You can hear the ghetto bird. There's always, can you see it? I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it. There's always a helicopter not too far in Los Angeles. But I was, paying attention to what was going on in the sky today. We've had some really beautiful weather as of late. It's just been dampered by the white lines in the sky. And I'm specifically saying white lines in the sky is my way of kind of trying to, navigate the algorithm. Because even though this is going to be put up on my private channel, it's still artificial intelligence now has its tentacles in all of these different, like there's no hiding from it. It's embedded within everything. And so, it's just things I'm mindful of. The tracking element of what people are talking about and saying and doing. Anytime I can, navigate that, I'm looking forward to it. But I was saying the white lines in the sky. The other thing about the day they spray versus the following couple of days is that I noticed day 2 and day 3, like yesterday, there was a real thick haze in the sky all over LA. And of course, they'll attribute that to traffic and to smog. LA is known for smog and air pollution because of the amount of, travelers on the road or whatnot. But yeah, I can tell there's like this mist, this thicker sort of mist that permeates the air 2 to 3 days after, I'm not even in the crosswalk, 2 to 3 days after they spray. And so when I'm outside on those days, I notice, like that one I did in Malibu when they were spraying. Number one of the main or the worst symptoms I'll say is really, really, really bad headaches. Headaches that aspirin don't help. And I really do my best try to not take aspirin if I can. So hone in on the sign there of the Waldorf Astoria. I'm keeping the tourist, sentiment in mind. I know some of you guys maybe, especially out of the country that live in Europe in particular, are really interested in this. A lot of people, when they come to LA, this is all the things that they want to see, the glamour and glitz of it in particular, which I ain't mad at the glamour and glitz of it. It's just the issue is that it's tied to so much wickedness on so many levels. But not always, but we know where we are. So I get really bad headaches, which take like a day to recover from. Can't really do anything but lay down. I don't get those all the time, but when I get them, I know what it's from. I have enough data in terms of like identifying when it happens. So it's either that or it's, additional mucus or mucus in my throat, pause, and in my nose, my breathing, like there's this, and it's a thicker type of mucus. And so the colloidal silver is really important, especially the nasal. So when I know that I'm coming outside, I'm going to be outside for extended periods of time. Like I did today and like I did yesterday, thank God the sky is at least semi-blue. But I make sure that I do the colloidal silver. I make sure I'm on the clay regiment. What else? Oil of oregano is really, really good for breaking up mucus in the nose, and in the, in the system, really. And then black seed oil, obviously. So this morning before I came out here, I did the colloidal silver nasal spray, and then I did the oil of oregano. And I'm going to do the same thing this evening as well. And that helps me to stay clear and to not be so affected by what they're spraying in the skies, because I just can't let these people keep me from going out and exploring. I don't want to get my shadow. I know you guys can see my shadow. I don't want to get my shadow. It makes for bad optics. Let's see if I switch hands. But yeah, I can't allow these people to get in the way of my connection with and my relationship with the Most High. It's just not happening. So we just got to stay prayed up, obviously. Mindful of our energy, our vibration, obviously. Taking proper care of our physical bodies, obviously. And then having the situational awareness, which I think is why is a good reason to do these type of videos in these different locations and whatnot, showcasing different parts of this city and many other cities. Eventually, you guys are going to get to take those journeys with me. I can't wait to go back to Sedona now. I've never done a walk with me in Sedona. I did some content where I was posting some videos of me, hiking and whatnot. But to do a actual walk with me in Sedona, that's gonna be off the chain. But so the chemtrails, that's one thing I wanted to talk about. And being conscientious. I ended up saying it anyway. I went on that whole spill about white lines and then said it anyway. But you guys get the point. It's something that I'm being mindful and conscientious of. Even when I type video in the explanation of the videos on my site. Because if what we are hypothesizing, I'll say that's a loose term. But what we are hypothesizing that these people are, building up to, which is the social credit system, which is already active and alive in several other places in the world, not just China and Japan, then that means that they're documenting, AI is documenting the things that we say and do in these social media and internet streets. And so I'm just mindful and conscientious of that. That's why I don't put up a lot of, conspiratorial content on YouTube and whatnot, because of that reason. Like, I know my name is already, whatever the list is, I'm on it, right? And so just being a little bit more mindful and conscientious, that's the beautiful thing about having the membership channel, is that I say what I want to say. And yeah, I'm still, being cautious, but now we can talk about the real nitty gritty without having an overseer per se. Like, Instagram has an overseer. You know what I mean? I know if I say certain things on Instagram within an hour, 2 hours time, video is going to get taken down. My content's going to get stricken. Like, I've been through all of that. People couldn't find me for a year and a half. Yep, I don't need anybody to verify or validate that for me. I've lived through it. Same thing with Facebook. Same thing with YouTube. All of these different sites, they have overseers. And so we have to, in a sense, it's compliance, in terms of the rules and regulations. And then in another sense, it's being crafty, right? We're on Roxbury right now, which is a very well-known street in these Beverly Hills streets. And maybe when we come back, well, I'm not sure. I didn't actually drive through the area where the streets are to know which way I'm going to come back. But anyway, going back to the hotel and the Whitney Houston situation, which for all intents and purposes we can consider to be a murder, and that's not far-fetched at all. I was thinking, and in my notes, the first thing on my note, which is because I knew I was going to park close to the hotel, was that this area, which is very synonymous, this whole entire area is very synonymous with Hollywood glamour, with wealth, with fame, with, star, celebrity razzle dazzle, etc., right? And as we look at all of these, Hollywood moguls sort of being revealed now, Hollywood moguls, rappers, artists, entertainers, just celebrities in general. Like I said, that portal opened in 2020. CAD didn't open that portal. 2020 opened it because we really got a chance to see a lot of these famous people and celebrities without all of the glitz and glam, like on a day-to-day basis. Like, who are you really? What are you really? What do you really, think about and focus on and talk about? And so, there's mad cameras all around here. Talk about a police state. You really see who people are, who they become. I'm going to switch hands real quick. Eventually, I'm going to have like some super high-tech camera that's going to make my life so much easier. It's probably going to cost me like $5,000, $6,000, something like that. But it'll make this whole process a lot easier. But in the meantime, I think the video footage comes across clear on my end. I know you guys probably have to watch on your phones. I'm not really sure how that looks when you watch from your TV or your computer monitor, because it's just the middle of the screen. So someone told me on one of my lives when I did a StreamYard live that I should turn the camera sideways like this, and it looks better that way, but not when you're on a phone. When you're on a phone and somebody records that way, it makes the screen really, really small. And so do I think most people are going to watch this by phone versus by computer? Definitely, I would say by phone. And I also watch content on YouTube that's by the phone, this type of content that I really enjoy and appreciate. So it works out. So this is this really pretty garden that I wanted to show you guys. It's right off of Santa Monica. Cactus garden. Recreation of this historic cactus garden made possible with the generous gift from the Resnick family. The gluttony and the narcissism and you look at somebody like Diddy, who's clearly I would definitely say he has narcissistic tendencies. I can't say that he actually is because I don't know him personally, but the system of Hollywood, the entertainment industry, the movie industry, etc., is all fueled on this illusion, the Hollywood illusion or the celebrity illusion. Like, look at how much energy the collective consciousness is paying right now to the Diddy situation. And then Jay-Z, oh my goodness. And I see the play with Jay-Z. I see what they're doing to him. They're dragging this along to keep people focused and, he's coming out strong and looking like the good guy right now. Because this is probably something that is fabricated, that's not really real, right? or that has a little bit of truth and mostly falsehood, etc., etc. But the way that he's so vocal and outspoken in regards to these accusations, it's obviously a good look. It's the way you should play it when you're innocent. But the thing is, he's gonna have to be this vocal and outspoken on all of them. And yeah, it's they're gonna use these celebrities and use American popular culture, particularly black. And yes, the the racism aspect for sure, like hang the black man, lynch the black man in front of the world, it's that. But then on a spiritual level, it's because they know that no other people can harness the collective consciousness or have the world so fascinated, so intrigued by, so interested in what's happening than black culture in America. And I'm not even saying that like a flex, because it's not a flex, and it's actually a really heavy cross to carry, particularly when we acknowledge that our culture has been at the forefront of a lot of the agenda and how it plays itself out. So we've been playing a very prominent position in that, right? So I'm not just saying that like, yeah, it's us versus the world. No, it's not. It's only some of us, and then it's some of us in the world too. The chosen ones choose themselves. But all of this energy, this dedication, making the black man the face of, that perpetrator, that guy, those wicked things, this manifestation of power and using it in the wrong way and using it against women and using it against children. They're making our men the face of that. And I'm not saying that to stand up for Jay-Z or Diddy. Like, I'm at the point now when we talk about all things being revealed. Yeah, that's why we shouldn't be campaigning unless you know these people personally. There's no reason to really be standing up for them. They have high-powered lawyers to do that for them. But the narcissism and the psychology that celebrity culture has breeded, not only in celebrities but in the collective conscious. How many times have you searched the word narcissism? I mean, the number of responses, of testimonies, of videos, of books, of conversation and language in the collective consciousness is surrounded around the word narcissism. This is Camden, okay. That word in itself and the frequency that it radiates. How is the triggering of it? If I get quiet when we're walking, it's because I notice people like honing in on what I'm saying. I ain't talking to you, woman. There's a 66 Mustang. That's my car. Yeah, people start, body language starts changing. They're trying to hear what you're saying, so they're, honing in and whatnot. Gotta be careful in these streets, That Agent Smith energy is real. Sometimes it's Agent Smith, and most times I'll say it's just someone that's naturally curious about what it is that I'm saying, especially when you mention the word narcissism, right? But yeah, so if I get quiet, it's, because I got a lot of people around me and just, hone in on the imagery around, and I'll tap back in within 30 seconds or so. So this is Rodeo Drive right here. I'm going to spin back around and come up through or walk down Rodeo Drive. But first I want to go down here by the Beverly Hills sign, a little bit more touristy type area. I was saying I hope that the camera view is sufficient for you guys to get a good look at what I'm looking at. It's a rectangle, yeah. It's not a square. It's not as large as I would like for the imagery to be, but I think you can get the picture. And then if you're on a cell phone, then yeah, that should be good. This is an area over here where a lot of the tourist buses, TMZ tours, and all that good stuff. As you can see, this double bus right here on the right hand side, a lot of sightseeing, tourists, buses come through here consistently. So this is definitely going to be an area that's frequented. It's a lot of money, a lot of riches, a lot of, celebrity energy in this environment. And plus it's just physically beautiful. I always say, like, buildings and all the stuff aside, like the way that just the beauty of the greenness in these areas, it just never ceases to amaze me. So this over here is where a lot of the bus tours and whatnot come, so people can get out and take pictures. I'm going to walk past there, and then I guess I'll turn right on that other side. Let me see. I think there was another park. Yeah, we'll see. This is Beverly Drive. You can see the presence is strong. You know what I'm saying? What's understood doesn't need to be explained, right? So I mentioned all of the financial benefit in this area, and so there you have it. Where are we at? 27 minutes. Okay, so I was talking about the narcissism and that sort of out of control ego element that's being put on display right now in front of the world. So when I'm talking about the God is in the details, like, yeah, this is one of the things that God is enforcing on us through the conditions on the ground. Just like sexual discipline is one of the things that God is enforcing on us, particularly those who are single. And that still applies to people in relationships, because just because you're married or in a relationship doesn't mean that you have sexual discipline or that you're faithful. You know what I mean? So, God is in the details. What is it that's going to help us to navigate the circumstances on the ground right now? Sexual discipline is one of them. Having a spiritual practice is another. What's your spiritual practice? This is one of my spiritual practices, walking and talking to you guys, and being curious about life and curious about other people, and sort of tapping in and honing on the vibration that's out in the world. This is a living, highly functional, very complex, systematic organism. All of this, everything we're looking at right now, the cars moving, the trees, the grass, the buildings, the way nature and buildings sort of blend together. This is one living organism that's manifesting and expressing and experiencing as billions upon billions, if not trillions, of different organisms. That is so fascinating to me. So I like to be out in the world, like reporting on it. And I'm also conscientious when we do headline news that a lot of the stuff that we're talking about globally, in terms of, what's happening here in California, like whatever the things that we're talking about, most of that stuff is happening like in the phone, on the TV, right? So that's why I said I'm super mindful right now of these wars taking place, wars and rumors of wars. I mean, I've been pondering that. The Bible says there will be wars and rumors of wars. And naturally, we would think, like, yeah, that's the rumors happen before the wars happen, right? But I don't know. I think there's something to that. I think we're in a time now where they can just pretend like the war happened or pretend like the wars are happening and get away with it in a society of NPCs. This is Cannon Street. I'm going to walk down this street and then come up on the other side on the other side of Rodeo Drive. So again, just bear with me if I get quiet, you know. I'm also like taking in the environment. Situational awareness. It's a real thing. And you know, a lot of people will come to these type of areas and feel, you know, lack and feel the inability to experience that level of wealth or to, you know, live a life where you don't have to worry about money. Like, nah, I come in these environments and get inspired. There's nothing different from many of these people, you know, in terms of potential, in terms of the abundance factor. Yes. There's nothing in these spaces and places that we can't aspire to and accomplish and manifest. That's why I like to go amongst, you know, go in places and areas that have beautiful things, purely for inspirational purposes only. You know? I've never actually like walked in this area before. Normally I would park somewhere in this vicinity and just walk through these specific streets. But yeah, so this is a different type of experience for me too, you know? Yes, the homelessness in LA is a real thing and it's omnipresent. That's why the extreme polarities never cease to amaze me. Okay, so let me stop and check my notes. I said this culture breeds narcissism, sociopaths, egomaniacs, which is the underlying tenements of rape culture, ego and control. I was watching an interview with someone and they were asking, why would a good-looking man who has all of that money want to sexually dominate and control a woman or anyone for that matter? And the guy was talking about, you know, the impact of fame, the impact of, you know, the ego and all of that stuff. And it's also the flip side of that is also that those type of people, those type of men are usually very, very, very insecure and have very low self-esteem. And so they try to use the money, the financial aspect, the success to hide those inadequacies. And when they can't, that's when they seek to minimize the value and control other people to get a false sense of that same thing. Old school phones. Those are so cute. So on a macrocosm in terms of the celebrity culture, which is where that frequency is prominent, even politics, to the micro level, to all of us as individuals and how we're engaging, reacting, and realizing in this lifetime. The same way the world, this planet is a whole living organism and everything is connected. Like your life. Don't hit me, bro. Thank you. Your life is a living, vibrating, powerful entity or organism in itself. Everything about it. How you doing? Everything about it. And this is one of the things I wrote in my notes. I'm not looking at my notes anymore, but I remember it now. We're here to alchemize the experience of this time. Alchemy meaning turning the spiritual science of turning a base metal into gold. Excuse me. And so I've talked a lot about the spiritual ramifications of that, or how that's reflected in the spiritual realm, spiritual alchemy. And so in this timeline, the difficulty of the experience, the difficulty of the environment, the day-to-day struggles of this world, right? And on the individual level, but then in the collective. I think that's the thing we should have all really taken from, if nothing else, from 2020. Like, yeah, we're way more connected to and invested in the choices that the everyday and average person makes that we maybe care to realize. And why do I say that? Because imagine if everybody would have said no. It would have never been able to happen. If most people would have said no, if half of the people would have said no, we would be things would be very, very different right now. But most of the people complied. So here we are. So that's a sort of something for us to consider. The Titanic, imagery where everybody's preparing for a crash with music in the background. Somebody's protesting. I'm almost tempted to walk down there, but I'm not. I'm very curious. I can hear it, but I can't see them. Protesters, they're somewhere close. But I'm going to take us down Rodeo, which is where we are now. Brighton and Rodeo. I'll walk us down here and then I'll come back up and make my way back to Santa Monica. There was a time in my early 20s when I used to come down here in this area and, was totally like mesmerized by all of the glitz and glamour of it all. Like going into Gucci and buying a $2,500 purse was like, the best thing ever. Now when I come through these areas, I'm not really it doesn't move me as much. So I just have a different vantage point on what luxury is. Not luxury, what living well means. And a lot of times in these environments where it's super financially focused, there's a very strong imbalance in the spiritual being a good person. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, the energy is different. The spirit is different. I do like the Christmas designs though. I've also gotten to the point where whereas I used to only be able to see the commercialism in it and the programming, and yeah, I still see all of that, don't get me wrong. But I think it's nice to have a time of the year where everything gets shiny and colorful and pretty, and people, shower each other with gifts. That's my love language. Not for the holidays, but it's always been a thing for me. And meet with family and connect with family, and all of the good stuff that it's supposed to represent. Like, I'm here for that. I don't participate in the holiday. I don't participate in any of it. Every now and then I might go back home, but I haven't been inclined to do so in a while. So yeah. It's beautiful, Valentino. And I do love clothes. I do like clothes. I do like to be fashionable. I do like pretty things. So I think just being able to appreciate the abundance frequency and look at, take the best part and leave the rest, so to speak, is critical. Excuse me. Pull my notes out because I know I was making a good point. Oh, alchemizing the situation. Okay, yeah. I feel like 2025 is about to be the year of the manifestation of that alchemy, the gold aspect, in real time, though.
2 hours would have been at least 50 or 60 bags.
Let's see. Hope I don't get out of breath. This is a small hill, so we should be okay. Alchemizing and finally manifesting the reality or the manifestations of all that work. 2025 is about to be our year. I feel that strongly. Especially if you've been like internally focused, like doing the inner work, the shadow work, not running from yourself, having those difficult conversations and releasing the people that need to be released and holding on to and protecting the people that need to be protected. Wow. What a weirdo. Guys, I'm not trying to get you, I'm just trying to do it's interesting. See, well, you peep the steady hand while I'm walking down the stairs, though. You see? I'm smooth with my camera work. It's not even really, I'm not even really standing out, although I'm walking down the street filming. It's just, it ain't what you do, it's how you do it. Not to mention the fact that everybody else is holding the camera, so there's that. Okay, so let's see. I'll cross the street here, and then we can walk back up Rodeo, and then I will make that left back to Santa Monica Boulevard and make my way back to my car. I'm at 45 minutes, so yeah, that's good timing. You guys will be able to walk back up Rodeo with me and see it from the other side. Alchemizing the circumstances, alchemizing the pain, alchemizing the recent adversity, alchemizing, the difficulty or trauma from your childhood that you thought you were already past, that's all of a sudden creeping back up again. Like I talked about in the other video, how many people are so disconnected from the lives that they actually created, like they're so unhappy. Oh, that's dope. Okay, Louis. Dissatisfied with the lives that they've created, and they're like prisons, and they don't know how to see themselves out of it. Okay, so alchemize it then. What do you want it to be? How do you want it to feel? How do you want it to look?
I thought about that, but then we were like, that'll be.
And then the conversation about alchemizing the situation in terms of what's going on in the world. Excuse me. Some of us need to be intentional with that in our individual lives, obviously, and then in the collective consciousness. That's a dope scoop. Notice how all these stores have black security guards. It never fails. Alchemizing the seriousness of the situation in the world. I feel like I'm not gonna say I do that, but I'm definitely intentional about that, without even like being cognizant of that. It's like how I say I don't like doing headline news and talking about all this difficult stuff if I'm not like in the right space to give a balanced perspective, so we're not walking away fearful and all of that. But like, yeah, it's happening, but here's why this is good, or here's why we're in a good space in spite of all that stuff. How do we alchemize the circumstances that are happening in the world? By being conscious about the world that we want to see. That's why I like being in these type of environments, because it's limitless. I mean, the lack shows up in homelessness, shows up in the disparity between the amount of people who can actually, afford this versus the people who can't. Obviously, those things kind of go without saying, but in terms of access, in terms of reach, in terms of what you can and can't do, like, yeah, that's the abundance frequency. And that's where most of us, excuse me. Okay, it's definitely down here somewhere. almost curious to walk down there. Let me just stay on my beaten path. That point that I made about being disconnected from the life, another brother. All the security guards over here. Not all, but like 90%. Not just because black men are known for being like more physically strong and dominant, but people don't, less likely to play with them, you know? And I would say that there's a higher possibility of like, you know, being friendly, being personable, to where you don't even have to have any issues, because the energy is sort of balancing out, navigating what comes with being a security guard at a Gucci or a Fendi or a Prada store, right? So less likely to try you and more likely to be intimidating. This is a pretty store. Physically very, the red flowers, all of that. It's very pretty. Bijan. Let me come back to my notes because I'm almost at my hour's time, and now I'm like, okay, did I say what I wanted to say? I know I haven't said everything. Let me just do a panoramic view real quick. It's Rodeo Drive. Weather turned out to be nice, so it's all good. I know somebody else is watching that wants to see what all the clothes in the window. Alchemizing the circumstances we're facing on an individual level. So all of the fear-based things from our childhood upbringing, you know, those things about ourselves, about our character that we've kind of just been going along to get along, or haven't really been paying attention to, or thought we dealt with, and now all of a sudden they're coming back to the surface, all that stuff. Yeah, it's time for a purge. And then alchemizing the circumstances, communal, culturally. That's writers, poets, artists. Did you guys see that video of Joe Brown talking about Nikki Giovanni? I'm curious what you thought about that. And then in the broader collective, alchemizing the circumstances. And so that's where we can differentiate energy stabilizers versus grid stabilizers. The grid stabilizers are going to be intentional about stabilizing the frequency within the broader collective. But you have to choose that. It has to be an active intention, right? And we know the chosen ones choose themselves. Oh, that's the bar right there. Okay, so we know the chosen ones choose themselves, right? Hang on, let me fold my paper back up. Switch hands because my left hand is feeling like what's going on. I don't get paid enough for this. Okay, so. Yeah, we act like that didn't happen. The chosen ones choose themselves, meaning stepping up to the plate of what's required right now, like the difficulty of maintaining frequency, the difficulty of being righteous in an unrighteous world, the difficulty of speaking truth to power, the difficulty of saying no, right? You got to choose that, actively choose that every day. And then choosing yourself, meaning debating which way I should go. And then choosing yourself has a whole different connotation in 2024 now, because forcing yourself to be around people that are not on the same conscientious or on the same vibrational wavelength has a much broader impact, and it can be much more detrimental to your health and well-being now. So choosing yourself means sometimes being in solitude, being comfortable with being alone. Choosing yourself meaning, paying attention to what you're putting in your physical body and the impact that it could have, and the personal all these little personal synthetic means of happiness that they put in front of us. Consumerism being one of them, right? And I'm coming from one of the consumerism capitals right now, or I'm in it. So that versus being intentional about what you put in your body, because you understand that it affects you emotionally, that it affects you mentally, that it affects you spiritually, your ability to process information. Your whole entire life is a living organism, and so all of these things matter in the big scheme of things. It's not a big deal if you eat a pork sandwich today in the big scheme of things. You know what I mean? But depending on where you are in your consciousness and your awareness, it could have a detrimental effect, or it could not have an effect at all. But the flip side of that is that most people who are, who love their bodies and who are aware of what's happening, the times that we're living in, are not putting that type of stuff in their bodies. And that's the irony. Alchemizing the circumstances. It's actually really nice out right now. Choosing yourself. It's hard to stay stuck in a emotionally, mentally, physically depleting relationship, whether it's with your partner, a man or a woman, or whether it's with a job or a company. That's all a job is a partnership. So I always tell my clients, don't stop saying you at the plantation, giving them people too much power. Because if you say you work at the plantation, then that means every time you say that, you're calling yourself a slave. And I know it's always said in jest. We just joking. Black humor, black comedy, right? I watched this interview of Guy Torrey. I'll post it in the membership channel. It's actually really good. I loved his perspective and his energy. But he was talking about black trauma and how black comedians in particular, have a real knack for turning black trauma and you sort of using it to be so funny, and how much we really need, because of all the trauma in our communities, how much we need laughter and need comedy and need humor. And I was just like, wow, I think again, for us here in America to have, that's part of what makes what's special about this time, what's special about this place, and what's special about this time, and what's special about those of us who have endured certain conditions. Let me switch hands so you guys can see. As I walk back through this cactus garden, the uniqueness and the specialty, talking about alchemy again, and transmuting base metals into gold, and the spiritual aspect of that. A lot of us here have been dealt a real serious raw deal, a bad hand, so to speak, on third dimensional level, right? Spiritually, I wouldn't even say it like that, but I know you guys are following what I'm saying. And so the ones among us that are able to alchemize the circumstances, the wisdom of our ancestors, the wisdom of the elders, the wisdom of studying this system of racism and what some would call white supremacy, right? The wisdom of living amongst this the wisdom of God sending me to LA for 4.5 years now to come here and study the ecosystem of how all of it works. I know for sure that was one of the reasons why I came here, along with ancient people. So being able to transmute those experiences and turn it into gold, the difficulty of those experiences, now is the time for us to really rise to the occasion as individuals in our individual lives, overcoming our lower nature, those ongoing behavioral patterns that we all have, that we used to just be able to, work and avoid, or travel and avoid, or stay busy and avoid. Nah, this is the time to confront those things. This is the time to overcome those things. And that is the key to, or one of the keys, one of the most important keys to manifesting abundance in this timeline, where these people have used prophecy. Obviously, they're trying to create the circumstances so that the prophecy is fulfilled, which is why it's brilliant, the whole idea when Elijah Muhammad said we have, 24 minor and major scientists that go out and study the consciousness of the people and the feeling and the energy of the people, and then write history in advance. So that means they had to have been knowledgeable of, that energy, that Baal energy, that Moloch energy, that Illuminati energy, that elitist energy, that vampire, low vibrational energy that takes people's, that harnesses negative energy and takes people's souls out of the game. If you work for 50 years straight, barely making ends meet and never actually really get to explore the aspects of yourself because that's your whole entire focus in life, there's a karmic aspect to that, and what you chose to do in this lifetime obviously is bigger than just on a surface level. But I'm just saying, it's a lot of wealth, a lot of abundance in these environments, in these areas. That's why I showcase them, because it all started in the mind. Every concept, every idea, every car, every house, every landscaping, park, all of it, it all started in the mind. And we need, for those of us that are striving to walk in truth and strive in the light and walk in the light, we need to start or hone in on and harness that creative, passionate, inspired imagination frequency. So have I shown anything in this video today that is above you, that you shouldn't have or don't deserve, or if you desired it? That's an interesting question to ponder, right? But yeah, alchemizing the circumstances on an individual level, whatever your base metal is, whatever your fear is, whatever the lower nature within you that's keeps causing you to make bad decisions, whatever relationships you're connected to that keep you locked in a mistake-making pattern of behavior, whatever family ties that are so toxic that you can't even get beyond the people that are supposed to take care of you and support you. They're in the way of your growth and development. All of those things, whatever the base metal is, it needs to be studied, it needs to be examined, it needs to be acknowledged, and it needs to be alchemized. And sometimes that alchemy is going to look like completely, going at the root and cutting it out for good. And sometimes that alchemy is going to be attention and care and concern and watering and, prayer and sitting still and trying to uncover and discover these different aspects of yourself. That's why our very limited vantage point in conversation around emotions is starting to show. because this is the time where the love frequency is most necessary. And what is the love frequency if not the highest representation of emotion and energy? And if you don't love yourself, yes, alchemy is a failed science. The base metal has to be spun from, has to be, explored from. The root intention has to be love. So if you love yourself, there's no way you can still have people in your life mistreating, misusing, and mishandling you. And if you really truly love yourself, there's no way you can continue to mistreat and mishandle and misuse yourself. That's what I find with a lot of people that want to be servants and that want to go out into the world and help. A lot of those people still have not learned how to properly treat and handle and love and care for themselves. And they end up using the work that they want to do in the world as a mask or a means of avoidance to the real work, which is to pour all of that energy, all of that intention, all of that love back inside of yourself. That's how you prove it. That's how you heal. So I think this is a really nice backdrop for us to end our conversation. We're at 1 hour and 6 minutes. You can see the sun there. You can also see the waterfall. There's traffic around me, a lot of energy around me, but I'm really grateful and thankful to spend this time with you guys, to get out in the sunshine, to move my physical body, to have a heart-to-heart one-on-one conversation with you guys. I'm just happy to be alive. I'm happy that I have people in the world that love and support me. I'm happy my mind is clear right now. I'm happy I've done a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about in terms of the root work, the emotional work, the shadow work. Like, yeah, I'm emphasizing this because this is where I've been. It's real in the field. You know what I mean? And so I give thanks for that, for my strength and fortitude, instead of running from that, to be in a position and to take the time and consideration to properly treat myself, to properly love myself. Okay? So I'm going to leave you guys with that. And this beautiful waterfall. It's a nice vibration. And with the sun in the background, let's see if I can line the sun up with the statue. That's a dope view right there. I'm going to post Headline News episode 66. I'm doing a love episode. I'm going to have that up by Christmas Eve, just to, bring some holiday cheer. And I will see beautiful people very soon. Peace and love.